Welcome to Happy, Healthy, Whole, and Rich, where faith meets action and transformation is non-negotiable. I'm Tina Brinkley Potts, and I believe now is the time to step boldly into your power, walk in divine wisdom, and claim the life you were meant to live. Each episode, I'll bring you real, unfiltered truth, because this world needs leaders who refuse to shrink. Let's get it. Welcome back to Happy, Healthy, Whole, and Rich. I'm Tina Brinkley Potts, and I know who I play for. We are in episode 6 of our Standing in Your Power series. And today we go deep onto something I've been built toward since the very beginning. The picture on the wall. We introduced it in our last episode. We talked about feeling your way to it, about doubling down on it when the old loops come back. Today I want to tell you where this practice actually came from for me. Not the polished version, the real version. The one that was born under pressure I would not wish on anyone. And that gave me something I would not trade for anything. This episode is personal. And I believe it's going to change the way you think about your vision, about your feelings for a very long time. Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain on tablets, that he may run who reads it. Write the vision, make it plain. Most of us heard this scripture applied to goal setting. Write it down, make it clear, put it somewhere you can see it. And that's not wrong, but I want to offer you something deeper today. Because some of us, vision doesn't come in pictures. It comes in feelings. It comes in a knowing that lives in the body before it ever forms a clear image in the mind. And I want to tell you that that is not a lesser form of vision. That is not something you need to fix or upgrade into something more visual or more structured. That feeling, that embodied knowing of what you're moving toward, is the vision in its purest form. Because you cannot fake a feeling. You cannot perform your way into a frequency of something you don't genuinely believe. That feeling is the truth of what you hold. Write the vision. For some of us, the writing is in the body, and it is just as real, just as powerful, just as capable of producing what Habakkuk promised. I want to take you back to a season of my life that I don't talk about often, but that I believe holds one of the most important lessons I've ever learned. I was at Wyoming Concrete, doing the work I was built to do, deep in the process of taking that company public, full IPO due diligence, the kind of financial work that most people never see inside of, high stakes, high pressure, largely alone in what I was carrying. And my body started talking to me, tingling all over, sensations I couldn't explain and couldn't ignore. I went to a doctor and he diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis. I want you to sit with that for a minute. MS, in the middle of everything, with children depending on me, with work that was depending on me, with a life I was still in the middle of building. And then I went to Johns Hopkins for a second opinion. And they told me something different. There was a tumor in the pons area of my brain. 2 diagnoses, neither of them simple and neither of them small. And I want to tell you what happened in my mind in that season, because it's exactly what we've been talking about this entire series. The data was, something is happening in my body that needs attention. But the story I started building on top of that data was that I was going to leave my children behind, that I would not be able to take care of them, that I would end up in a wheelchair, that the life I was building was about to be taken from me. That was not data. That was projection dressed as prophecy. And I was feeding it with everything I had until I stopped. Not because the diagnosis disappeared, Not because the fear went away overnight, but because I started doing something that I now understand was the most powerful thing I could have done. I started working out. At first, it was once a day, and then sometimes twice. And I want to be clear, it was not about the physicality. It was about what happened after. That post-workout state, that release, those few minutes where my troubled mind went quiet and something that felt like peace moved in. A few minutes became a few hours. And in those hours, things started looking different, one thing at a time. I started separating what I knew from what I feared. I started questioning the story I had built around 2 diagnoses from 2 different doctors. I started asking, what do I actually know right now? And what am I projecting onto a future that hasn't happened yet? And as I created more and more of those hours of relief, more of those windows of expanded frequency, I started to see things I couldn't see when I was contracted. Options, paths, a way through that wasn't visible from inside the fear. I do not have MS. I do not have a brain tumor. I am standing here telling you this story whole. And what I learned in that season, what I would not trade for anything, is that deep emotion is an accelerant. That I could feel my way towards things and away from things with equal power. That the feeling practice I had been doing unconsciously since I was a teenager was the most sophisticated tool I possessed. The picture on the wall is not a goal. It's a frequency. And the feeling is how you tune into it. Write the vision and make it plain, that he may run who reads it. He may run who reads it. There's an urgency in that scripture. A vision that is clearly held, clearly felt, produces movement. It produces momentum. It produces the kind of forward motion that doesn't require constant effort because the direction is already settled. When I was contracted around those diagnoses, I couldn't run. I could barely move. Because a contracted mind cannot access the resources available to it. It is too busy managing the fear to see the path. But as I found my way back to a livable frequency, workout by workout, hour by hour, I started to run again. Not away from what was happening, towards the life I believe was mine. That is the picture on the wall. Not wishful thinking, not denial of reality, a frequency you return to so consistently that it becomes more real than the fear. Ernest Holmes wrote that the law of mind works with whatever material you give it, always, without exception. In that season of diagnosis and fear, I was giving it terror. And the law was faithfully building in the direction of terror, more fear, more contraction, more evidence that things were going wrong. The moment I started creating even small windows of relief, even a few minutes of post-workout peace, I started handing the law something different to work with, and it shifted, not dramatically at first, one thing at a time. Neville Goddard taught something I return to constantly. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not the picture of it, the feeling of it. Now, I want to tell you something important about this. I've never been someone who sees pictures easily when I visualize. Some people close their eyes and see vivid imagery. That has never been my primary channel. But I can feel anything. And what I discovered, first as a teenager navigating a hard home life, and then confirmed under the most extreme pressure of a health crisis, is that the feeling is the language the subconscious actually speaks. Not pictures, not words, feeling. When I walk through a house I'm considering, I'm not checking boxes. I'm feeling whether I already live here. Whether I hold a vision for my business, I'm not just describing it. I'm inhabiting the feeling of it already being real. And when the diagnosis came, the workout wasn't just exercise. It was a feeling practice. It was me finding a frequency, even briefly, even imperfectly, that was different from the contracted terror, and then staying in it as long as I could, and then coming back to it again. James Allen wrote, "You are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. Your feelings are your thoughts at their most powerful. They are thought with energy behind them. And where you feel yourself consistently, persistently, even imperfectly, is where you're going. Paint the picture in feeling and keep returning to it, even when the loops come, and especially when the loops come." Today, I want to do something a little different in the reflections this time. I don't want you to write about your vision. I want you to feel it. But before we get there, first, what is your current picture on the wall? The goal, the vision, the thing you're building toward or believing for. Write it down in as much detail as you can, not just the facts of it, the feeling of it. What does it feel like when you already have it? Get specific as you can, not someday, now, as if it's already done. Second, what is your feeling practice? Not your goal setting practice, your feeling practice. How do you access the frequency of the vision when life is pulling you back into the contraction? For me, it started with a workout. For you, it might be something different. A walk, a piece of music, a quiet room, a conversation with someone who sees you clearly. What reliably shifts your frequency even for a few minutes? Name it, protect it. That practice is not luxury. It's your most strategic tool. Third, where have you been giving the law the wrong material? Where are you feeling contracted, fearful, resentful, or hopeless consistently enough that the law is building in that direction? That's not about shame or blame. This is about inventory. What feeling are you handing it most often? And is that the feeling you want to build from? Fourth, is there a diagnosis in your life right now? Not necessarily medical. A diagnosis from someone else about what you're capable of. A diagnosis from your bank account about what's possible. A diagnosis from a past failure about what you can expect. What story has been handed to you that you are accepting as truth? Run the DSP method on it. Separate the data from the story from the projection. And finally, what would it feel like to already be on the other side of it? Not to have avoided it. Not for it to never have happened, but to be standing on the other side, whole, with everything you learned in the middle of it. Feel that. Stay in that as long as you can. That feeling is the picture on the wall, and it's yours. Here's what I want you to carry today. The picture on the wall is not just a goal you write down and look at. It is a frequency you inhabit, a feeling you return to, a knowing that lives in your body before it ever fully forms in your circumstances. And it was built for the hard seasons, not just the easy ones. It is most powerful when the diagnoses are coming, when the loops are loudest, when everything around you is trying to tell a different story than the one you're holding. In those moments, you go back to the feeling. A few minutes at a time, if that's all you have. A workout, a walk, a quiet moment where you close your eyes and feel what it feels like to already be on the other side. And then a few minutes becomes a few hours. And things start looking different, one thing at a time. That is not magic. That is the law working with the material you're giving it. Giving it the feeling of the vision consistently, persistently, even imperfectly, and watch what becomes possible. The picture on the wall is yours. It was always yours. I know who I play for, and until the next time, be happy, be healthy, be whole, and most importantly, be rich in love, rich in peace, and rich in purpose. If this message spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, live it, and let's grow together. Head over to happy, healthy, whole, rich,